Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have a special guest. This is Bonnie. And how do you say your last name? I always say it wrong. Chudik?
Chudik. Chudik.
Chudik. I've never even heard my aunt say it, so thank you.
You're welcome.
So Bonnie and I have known each other for several years. She's helped my family. She was probably one of the first people that really opened my eyes to natural health many years ago, especially around 2007. I was embarking on some travels in Asia, and she put together a care package for me with everything that I would need if I needed to treat myself for any type of sickness. So I'm grateful to you for that. And I was thinking also, you did some infrared pictures on me around 2007, and you helped out my grandmother. And then of course you have an amazing relationship with my aunt. So Bonnie and I have known each other a long time. She's a naturopathic doctor and also an RN. She has so much knowledge. I just wanted to share it with all of you this evening, and I'm going to let Bonnie take over if you want to tell us a little bit about your background to start with.
Oh, thank you, Emily, for such kind words. You're always such a sweetheart. You know me. If I can help anybody, that's my main motto, right? I'm always there to help. The more people we can help get better, the better place we live in, right? But I started my journey quite a while ago, actually. I did work in Western medicine for 25 years in the emergency room and intensive care unit in a local hospital. And it was very frustrating as time went on because people were getting sicker. They weren't getting better. And, they come in to get help and we send them home, and I'd see them 6 months later in worse shape than what they were before. So I started researching Eastern philosophies. There had to be a better way. There just had to be a better way than having people live their life treating symptoms instead of living their life being well. We have the whole mentality of taking a pill for every ill, right? And it wasn't working. So I went back to school and I did get my doctorate in natural medicine. And I've been practicing that since 2004. So I've loved the journey I've been on. I did my postdoctorate work in energy medicine, and that's really where it pulled all of the pieces of the puzzle together for me. And I am so excited at today, the technology that we have. I'm thrilled. So yeah, it's really nice to see like yourself and your family and many, many others. The testimonials, the stories that I could give are unbelievable. Once people believe, and that's the key, that their body can heal itself. Because once they believe that, then the door is wide open. And we just give them a few little tweaks to what they're doing in their lifestyle, and they're off, to health instead of getting sick.
Thank you so much for that, Bonnie. So well, maybe I'll just back up a little bit. In your practice, like in the times that I would see you, like what was the main thing that you were doing with people? And you've used frequency medicine years ago as well, before Healy, right?
Right. I've always believed in frequencies and vibration. Everything is vibrations, right? And if it's just a little out of sync, I use the analogy with my clients to a radio station. If you're not getting the correct frequency on your station and you tune it a little bit, it pulls it in nice and clear, right? Well, there's a lot of things in life that cause distortions. In today's world, the biggest one is stress. The lifestyle that we're living, just look at our lifestyle. So by tweaking and supporting the body with different frequencies, be it essential oils and really anything that you want to use, because there's multiple modalities in energy medicine. It's really, if you listen to your body will tell you what it needs. Now the guesswork is, the average person now can can do frequency medicine, which is, again, like I said, I'm so thrilled with it because prior to the Healy device, I have a practitioner unit that I would utilize with my clients. But again, that's making them dependent on me for their care, right? For their health. So with this portable device, it's phenomenal. Now people can be accountable for their own health and utilize it when it's needed. So there isn't that chronic stress on the body.
I think a lot of people give up their right to be able to take care of their own bodies. You know what I mean when I say that? It seems like a lot of people will just like give somebody else the whole decision making, which it's kind of mind boggling, right?
It is. It really is. And it's really sad. In the Western whole mindset is immediate gratification. We want to take a pill to fix it when really all it's doing is it's silencing the symptom. It's not getting rid of it. It's just getting it out of our head. It's just getting its awareness. We're suppressing it. So sooner or later, the body will start with like a little whisper and say, hey, I got a little hurt here, a little pain here. And we take an aspirin and it suppresses it. And then all of a sudden there's mobility issue and you can't bend it. So now it's the pain and the movement. The body just keeps screaming louder and louder and louder until you take care of it. And by having surgery is not taking care of it. Again, it's still suppressing the cause. But we're in that mindset where in Eastern worlds, they're not in that mindset. They take responsibility for, their lifestyle. What they do on a daily basis is what's going to contribute to their overall health. We just have to change that mindset. Again, it's back to beliefs, right? You are what you believe.
Yeah, 100% right. What we give out, we get back. Negative or positive, a seed is planted. So it's so important to pay attention to what we are giving out all the time. So in your practice,
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm just going to say we're so conditioned from such a young age to turn it over, like you said, to someone else, where we have to reprogram our way of thinking.
Yeah, you just read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to say too, because we are programmed to think a certain way when it comes to eating and health. And a lot of Western medicine isn't health. It's just that Band-Aid effect again. It's not bringing the body back to homeostasis.
Yeah, and one of my quests, when I first opened my wellness center in 2004, I had quite a huge center where we had a whole bunch of different modalities, so that each patient that came in through the door, we could treat as a whole with all the different, acupuncture and Reiki and chiropractic and massage and yoga, meditation, whatever tools that person needed to incorporate into their life to help them get well. But our main focus really was, energy flows where our attention goes. So if we believe the label that Western medicine has given us, we have to break down that label before we can even help the body heal itself. Because if you believe you have MS, if you believe you have ADD, if you believe you have fill in the blank, whatever illness, we have to get you past that belief because it's just a label, right?
Yes, I really understand the labels, especially with my son, because he has this genetic predisposition, and which not everybody else knows that, but I have made a conscious effort never to label him. He doesn't know it. He just knows that he takes certain herbs every day and he is doing very well. So I've always been looking for modalities to add into to what he needs, you know? So it's amazing right now to be in this space to stay empowered and be able to help him with frequency.
Yeah.
So can you tell us any stories or experiences you've had with using your frequency machine as a practitioner in your at your center, I mean, your wellness center?
Yeah. I have really just about a story for any label that we want to look at. So I just put it into um, a generalization where, you know, for me, practicing an Eastern medicine in a Western world, you have to chisel out, you have to break down a lot of the foundation and rebuild it. So basically, in anything, I see when people come to see me, they're at the end of their rope. They've been to everybody. They don't know which way to turn. They've hung on to this label, and now the emotions are attached to it. And so there's a lot of layers that we have to work through. And every one of them, after a few months, again, this is using, you know, coming to me on a weekly or monthly basis. After a few months, we accomplish wellness on a scale of, say, a -5 to a +5. People come see me at a -3 or 4. We wind up at a +3 or 4. Things that they'd never thought ever that they could turn around. You know, you get a diagnosis like with MS, for example. I've had multitude of MS patients that have seen me, and they've had the MRI scans done, and there are multiple lesions, and the doctor's like, you know, prepare yourself for a future of being bedridden, etc. And the people that I see are the ones that are determined, like yourself, you know, there is a better way. I can heal this. I can get through this. And we do, you know, they go back and they see their physicians and they have repeat MRI scans done 6 months later and they're negative and the doctors are blown away. And we've just done it with natural therapies. So it's lifestyle. You know, you have to include the whole person, not just like the Healy, like any frequency device. It's not a cure-all. You know, you have to add it to the lifestyle. So you've got to feed yourself well. You have to water yourself well, right? You have to breathe well. You have to move. You've got to sleep. You have to take care of the stress and the mental. And the vibrational is you have all the ingredients. Now you've got the recipe. And the body knows what to do with all those ingredients. So you can't make a cake without a recipe. You can have 10 different recipes, but the ingredients are going to be basically the same. So do you do acupuncture? Do you do, you know, I mean, whatever energy modality that you would choose prior to today would be a different recipe for the same result. That makes sense?
Perfect sense. It's very good to hear you also bring that to attention for people, because there isn't just one magic cure for really anything. It takes the whole body, right? They say to eat whole foods. So we need to take care of the whole body, and however each body, of course, requires different recipes. So then it becomes up to you to listen, like, what's my body telling me right now? The first time and it wasn't even that long ago, but I really, really, really started to learn how to listen was when I was pregnant the first time. I really learned how to tune into my body. And it's amazing when you start doing that, then you start to get intuition on what you need, or intuition on who you should talk to, or like at least some kind of direction, or start to navigate. I feel like that's how it was for me anyways.
Well, with everybody, you know, we aren't, again, back to conditioning, we aren't trained that way. We aren't tuned into something until it becomes a disaster, till it becomes a crisis to where it takes your breath away, till all of a sudden you notice it. So many times with people, I'll do a follow-up. I'll see them the first visit, and usually it's about a 3-4 hour visit the first time I'm with someone, because I'm like a private investigator. I have to figure out every part of their life, not just what's your blood pressure and heart rate doing. I mean, those are snapshots of the moment. I need to know, what are you doing in your life the 80% of the time? 20% of the time, right, isn't going to matter, but it's what you're doing 80% of the time that really does. And so I get to know people as much as I can, and we try to tweak all the different areas of their life. And what was interesting is when I closed my practice in New York and moved down to South Carolina, I decided I would do home visits instead of opening up another whole center. It was really enlightening for me, because that's when I discovered people will tell you what you want to hear. But when I would get into people's homes and they would be telling me all along, well, yeah, I eat healthy, I eat real good, and I do this and I do that. And I get into their home and it's nothing but processed foods that they're eating, and they're drinking, sugared waters. And that's really when you see the wellness turn around, because now I'm seeing what I need to see instead of them telling me what they think I want to hear. Again, it's the whole conditioning. What is everybody? It's their perceptions, right? What do they perceive as healthy? Yeah, I get a good night's sleep. How many hours? Well, 3 or 4. I mean, you really have to be a private investigator to find out, where if they were in tune to their body right from the get-go, they would know right away what that missing piece was, what piece was the weakest link in the chain, so to speak, that they needed to work on to improve their overall health.
And the beautiful thing about everything that Bonnie is saying is that we can all change. Just because we've done something one way our whole entire lives, or someone told us it can only be done one way, the good news is there's multiple ways, and there's multiple healing modalities, and there's multiple people out there that are willing to educate, help, and show you how you can bring balance back into your body.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's so true. Everything we do in life is all about a choice, right? It's what do you choose to do? Do you choose to live being well, or do you choose to live suppressing symptoms, treating your illness? There's a pill for every ill, if you want to believe that. And that's what some people believe, and that's okay. I can't help them then. I tell people that come in to see me that have, say, they want to treat high blood pressure, for example, or diabetes, and they're on insulin, or they're taking, several high blood pressure medicines or statins for their cholesterol, and they want to get well. Well, you can't drive your car when you have your foot on the brake. And that's just what we're doing, taking medicine, is we have our foot on the brake. It's suppressing those symptoms. So in order to treat them, we have to support the body so that we can take our foot off the brake, and then put the gas on so the cells get the energy that they need, right?
Absolutely. So I guess for somebody who might be brand new here, could you explain a little more then when you say take the brakes off, and when you say suppress, maybe an average person might not know what that means when you say that.
Well, for example, high blood pressure. We know high blood pressure is due to a calcium metabolism issue. Calcium as a mineral constricts. Magnesium as a mineral relaxes. Well, we're the 4th most deficient country in magnesium, and we're the highest on high blood pressure medicine. So if we can get the body balanced with the right nutrients, and that's just, again, one piece of the puzzle, then the blood pressure issues, the constriction of blood vessels that cause the pressure to go up, resolves itself. So then a person can come off their medicine because they no longer need medicine that's going to force the vessels to stay open. So if I take a pill to control my high blood pressure, it's not taking care of any of the deficiencies. It's causing the artery walls to be rigid so they stay open in that position. If you want, I mean, that's just a real rough analogy, but so there's nothing you can do with that medicine on board is going to resolve that, because you've got your foot on the brake, so you're not going to go forward. So we have to support the body, and as like magnesium gets on board, then the blood pressure starts coming down, and they can go to their other doctor, their primary doctor, or their cardiovascular doctor, and tell them, look, at my blood pressure is coming back into normal range, and they start weaning them off the medicine, because they're now taking control of their health and not suppressing the body from being well, trying to bring itself back into balance, right?
Right. And that's a really good analogy, because a lot of people do take blood pressure medication in this country, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the largest, is it cholesterol and blood pressure? The
Yeah.
largest, maybe?
Yeah. And we know, I know in New York, and I've been fighting in South Carolina now. Before, in New York State, we knew that any of the statin drugs that people would take caused the body to be deficient in coenzyme Q10. So a whole group of us just kept, voicing our opinions to doctors, saying, look, you've got to educate your patients. They have to supplement with coenzyme Q10 if you're going to prescribe any of these statin drugs. To the point where then they mandated it. So all the pharmacies put up little signs, and if your doctor hasn't talked to you about it, taking coenzyme Q10 along with any of the statins that they prescribe for them, please see the pharmacist. And then the pharmacist would educate them on their need to supplement, because it blocked this enzyme, and it's really needed for the heart muscle to function properly. They don't do that in South Carolina. There isn't any signs up anywhere yet. So it still hasn't spread nationwide. But, there's certain things that we know we could help them, even if they insist on taking drugs, to support so they don't have those severe side effects. And that's being one of them. Same with diabetes.
Coenzyme
Q10.
Coenzyme Q10. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
CoQ10. Wow. I didn't know that. And my father takes these kinds of things. So I will be letting him know. And I appreciate that information.
Yeah, definitely. And, again, with the cholesterol medicine, I've been in on autopsies of people that have had cholesterol numbers at 600 and 800, just through the roof, and their coronary arteries look crystal clean. And unfortunately, it's education again. The natural way of things is an economic threat to our country, right? Unfortunately, it's big business. But there was a study that was misinterpreted back in the 50s that said fat causes heart disease, particularly cholesterol. So that's where the whole cholesterol thing came from. And we know as naturopaths that cholesterol is like the body's fever. It's a protective mechanism. We don't want to suppress a fever. A fever, if our body temperature goes up, right, it's to kill off bugs that have invaded us. If our temperature drops low, it's to kill off viruses, because viruses don't like a real cold environment. So same with cholesterol. If we get an internal nick somewhere, cholesterol acts as our internal Band-Aid. it goes to the area, it puts an oily like film over the area. So the area then is allowed to heal. If we tell the body don't make cholesterol anymore, guess what? We get all these nicks, we get all these little blood clots, we get all these things that develop inside just from normal living. I mean, metabolism breaks down things, I mean, a car running is going to have some things that are going to break, right? That you need to lubricate. If our body can't do that, then that's where illness comes in. You get the chronic illnesses because we've now suppressed a body's normal fighting mechanism, right? By stopping the production of cholesterol. So yeah, it's not a good, well, no drugs are good, but that's one of the worst ones.
And it's given out I mean, many people are on it from a certain age group or certain age range, right?
Yeah, and that's really what frustrates me. I'm starting to see a lot of kids, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and even now through this pandemic, fear is driving a lot of stress in these kids, and they're not being taught how to handle it. Everywhere they go, they can't do this, and they have to have a mask, and people are yelling at them if they don't have their mask on. And am I going to go to school? I'm not going to go to school. Am I going to play sports? I'm not going to play sports. I mean, it's just the kids are really the saddest group here out of all of what's going on. And the way pediatricians are treating them is by putting them on high blood pressure medicine or anti-anxiety medicine, or they've got severe digestive issues, because that's the gut is one of the first places they get hit with, right? I mean, all of us, we get a sick stomach, So I'm seeing these kids, 6, 7, 8 years old, that are on 4 or 5 different prescription drugs already. Not to mention the ones for ADD and the ones to help them get to sleep because they're so high during the day. Now they got to sleep at night, and it just really
and the diet.
me. Yeah.
And it's very scary. And the diet, you have this diagnosis, ADHD, we'll use an example, but then they're fed large amounts of sugar, and it's very upsetting because I know children who take that stuff who don't particularly like how they feel when they take it.
Yeah, and again, it's not the parents' fault, so to speak. It's lack of education. They're ignorant to knowing. One of the first classes I do, even in one-on-ones with patients, is a sugar class. All of our food labels are labeled in metric. We're not metric. So if it says there's 50 grams of sugar in it and there's 500 of sodium, they're like, oh, well, there's more sodium than sugar, so the sugar must be okay. Well, 50 grams, 4 grams is a teaspoon. So I'll show people, like in a can of Coke, there's 12 teaspoons of sugar in there. I'll put 12 teaspoons of sugar in a foam cup of water and ask them if they would drink that, and they want to puke. They're like, no, are you kidding me? I won't drink that. Yeah, you're drinking iced tea, Cokes, lattes, cappuccinos, all this stuff that's got this amount of sugar or more in it, for starters. And then we give our kids the same thing. Apple juice, orange juice, juice boxes, Kool-Aid. It's all sugar. So, if they were educated in the fact, if they were shown like a CAT scan, I have an MRI, a PET scan, a CAT scan of someone that has done cocaine, heroin, and another person that has done sugar. And all 3 scans are worse in the person that has just consumed a can of Coke versus someone who has injected themselves with heroin or cocaine. Their brain scans are lit up from the sugar. It's so addictive. It's so irritating to our body. that in itself, if people would remove that from their diet, sugar will drop your frequency. If our cell wall likes to be minus 70 millivolts, for example, sugar will make that bump up to like a 40. So you're not even going to get stuff that's going to go in or out. It's going to be so inflamed and it's going to flip the frequencies off that our immune system actually drops by over 75%. From
Wow.
one can of Coke, when people understand that have an autoimmune disease, that have diabetes, that have already symptoms of a sugar metabolism issue, they see those and they're educated. Now they have the tools that they can implement to help them get better instead of, well, I've got to take my insulin today, as they still are eating fast food and ice cream and, rice and pasta and stuff that, well, I had a bagel for lunch or breakfast. It's just sugar. What's it going to do in a glass of water? And that's how I teach people is think of the food that you're eating. Get a mason jar with water. And if you dropped that food item into that glass of water, what would it do? Would the water stay clear or would it get cloudy? If it gets cloudy, guess what? It's glue. It's sugar water. It's not going to do any good in our body.
And that's what happens. Right. That's what happens to our intestines. They get coated in that sugar water, and anything that's hard to digest, it doesn't leave. Many people have very coated intestines. And if you're not getting that waste out of your body, then yes, it causes that disease and can show up emotionally, mentally, physically.
That's how we used to make glue before Elmer's glue was so popular, was flour and water, right? It made a paste. It actually hardened. And that's what it does in our body. Same thing,
Yeah, totally. Wow. Well, thank you so much for all those explanations. I just want to then switch gears here and just tell us how you got involved in Healy and what you think about it and how you see it and how you think it's going to help people. Just like your opinions on all of it, if you don't mind.
Oh, Emily, I just am ecstatic that we now have this small portable device that will scan you in the present moment and also rebalance you in the convenience of your home, in your car, doing whatever. This is a game changer. This is really a game changer in health. When people start to see, and we're already seeing huge testimonials of people. I know personally, my husband is in South Carolina right now and I'm in New York, and he wasn't waiting for me to get back to South Carolina. So he got his own device and he woke up with knee pain, and he never complains of anything. He's 68 years old and you would think he was 40. He's constantly active doing stuff. And about a month ago, his knee started bothering him. Well, he just got his Healy yesterday, and he put it on and did the pain just for 20 minutes, ran it, and he couldn't feel it anymore. He said, oh, this has to be the placebo. He's like, okay, he's going to critique it, right? So he started to feel a little, about 6 hours or so later, a little like hiccup in his knee. And he said, I'm going to run it again. And that was all he's done. He hasn't felt a thing since yesterday afternoon. He's gone all day. He's been working out in the yard, walking, doing stuff. And he said, this is, 4 weeks of, he was taking 6 aspirin a day. He was doing bromelain. He was doing water therapy. He was putting CBD oils. I mean, he was doing all of the natural stuff, that, and it just wasn't taking the edge off. And 2 treatments and it's gone. And again, you get the body into the right frequency. We know pain lowers the frequency. So it's pretty cool. That I'm just so excited. about it because, like I said, I've been doing energy medicine well since 2007 when I got office machine. Um, but people were still dependent, on you treat them once and you see them in a month, or again, it's financially dependent too, because insurances don't cover alternative therapies. So, you know, it's just so great that it's affordable, for the whole family, from newborns to death. We can use this device. It's the recipe for health. So I'm just ecstatic. Everybody needs one in their medicine cabinet. Everybody needs it. No
I
doubt.
totally agree with you. After using my own Healy now and going through my own transformation, I did my first thyroid um, program today. I've been only using the Gold Cycle, so it was interesting to use a thyroid program, and I was feeling very tired before I did it. And then as soon as I started running it, I started feeling a lot more energized, and I went for a walk and was outside. So, and prior to that, like 10 minutes before that, I was like ready to crash out on the couch. So that was really nice because I've struggled with some energy. And so part of my Healy transformation is energy work for myself, boosting the energy up and bringing that balance, not just boosting it, but bringing the balance back for myself. So
Yeah.
I'm very thankful too.
Awesome. That's so good. And that was
Sherry,
one. Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Bonnie.
No, I was just going to go down a rabbit hole, just off on the
Yeah,
tangent. You
go
wind
ahead.
me up
Go
and
ahead.
I
We're
get going.
listening.
Well, you mentioned thyroid, and that was one of the issues with in New York State. And well, even where you are, it's in the Great Lakes region, which is considered the goiter belt. And in the goiter belt, why they call it that is because the soils are deficient in iodine, and the thyroid gland is dependent on iodine to help manufacture its hormones. So if it doesn't have the right ingredients, guess what? It's not going to function properly. So one of the things that I would do with everybody with thyroid issues was to make sure that they had enough iodine, not iodized Morton salt, because that's just synthetic. The body doesn't recognize that at all. But just taking a couple of granules of sea salt and putting it in their water every day would be just enough for them to, every glass of water that they consume would be enough for them to get their iodine levels up. We'd get their iodine levels up and there would still be that missing link. So I would then see on the frequency machine that they were distorted in the information field for how the body should use iodine. So once we balanced that frequency, then everything else fell right into place. So that's just another example of when you have all the pieces of the puzzle clicking, then you can get healthy. And with Healy, we now know that. It gives us that opportunity now because it'll scan us and tell us, what layer of the onion do we need to address today? It might not even be, you might think you have thyroid issues, but again, that's preconditioned label that we're putting on it, where it might stem from an emotional issue from when you were 2. It could be because you stubbed your toe. I mean, there's so many distortions in our energy field that could block the information, like iodine getting through. So the Healy takes the whole guesswork right out of it. It just tells us this is what you need to address. Instead of us trying to, our ego gets in the way and we know it all, oh, I know this is what's wrong with me. And we treat that where it really might not be. I mean, it's like trying to fix our car. It won't go down the road. Well, it might not be because it's missing a tire. You think that's what it is, but come to find out, the oil pan doesn't have the plug on it or whatever, but you're focused on the flat tire. Not too good of an analogy, but I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's good to talk about the peeling those layers because the body is layers, right? And energy blocks can be from, just like as you said, when we were children, and you may never know it's there until you start using these frequencies and start seeing yourself shift and start noticing like, wow, I don't feel like this today. Why? Well, because your energy begins to move. And so I like to look at Healy as it's not replacing everything I'm doing. It's not going to replace yoga. It's not going to replace all my herbs because I have a love and passion for plants. It's not going to replace drinking good water or getting exercise. It's just going to add even more to my life. That's like how I look at it. And it's going to give me a broader scope of pinpointing what my body needs and going
Yeah.
forward and just, yeah, not guessing.
Yeah, exactly. And it will now have the energy card, the information card for the herbs that you're taking. So now you know that you're going to utilize them 100% as your body needs them versus a guessing game. Because what might work, I would put people in three categories. This will work for you, might not have any effect at all, and this might make you worse, because it all depends on where the distortions are, where the missing piece is. Where again with Healy now, it takes all that guesswork out. I don't have to try to be that private investigator. I have to try to be that diagnostician and figure out. Healy's going to tell me. It's artificial intelligence. It's the scalar waves. It's quantum physics. It's right where all of that information is. So it's really exciting. It's a great time. I'm just so blessed that I got to work with this device and see it in my time. It's just like I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. And I did my postdoctorate work in Pune, India, and they have a 1,500 bed hospital there that just treats energy medicine. There's no drugs, there's no surgery. And um, to have that experience and try to explain to people, they set fractures with electricity. You come in, they hook you up to like a TENS unit, and in 10 minutes you're out the door, and the fracture has sealed itself and off it's healing as you walk out the door. They're like, get out of here. We put a cast on for 6 weeks. Well, they don't all do that everywhere. It's not how it is. Just because we do it in Western medicine doesn't mean that it's the right way to do it or the only way to do it.
Right, only way is the key word there because
Yeah,
that's what the mentality is here. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's nice to have more options for people. Are there any questions from anyone? I don't know if you saw, Bonnie, that Laura is on the call right now, Laura Scarborough. I don't know if you
Oh,
can
hi,
see,
Laura.
but she did say hello to you. So just wanted
Yeah,
to
no, I
let you
have,
know.
again, like I was saying, bear with me because I could be I'm looking at my water cup here. So I'm talking to my cup of water. I don't have my laptop with me. So this is, you know, trial and error trying
No
to figure it
problem.
out.
You're you're doing excellent. Sherry, did you have any questions?
Um, well, I'll just read one from Christine. She said, so after the Healy does its scan, it will it tell you what it is you need to do? So any of us can answer that one. Emily, if you
Yeah,
want to.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So after you do a scan, Christine, personally, this is what I do. After I scan someone, then it gives you your top 5. And I will go back in to at least the top 2 and rescan that program. So let's say Healy Gold comes up for someone, then I will rescan with Healy Gold and say release comes up. So then you know that, you need to use the release program. So it does take, like Bonnie said, all the guesswork out. And Bonnie, I just want to say to you, thank you. I could listen to you all night. Like, this was wonderful. So thank you so much. But yeah, you can dig deeper and deeper and find out what it is that you need.
Right. And it's important too to listen to your body. If you're going through a transition where you're feeling, maybe you're not feeling very good that day from using your Healy, maybe you back off for a day, or you're feeling good, and you just have to pay attention to what's going on with the body. Go ahead, Sherry.
Yeah, what I want to say is that Emily is much more sensitive to Healy than I am. So I was cranking mine up, like, I'm gonna get the most out of this. And I was listening to, I forget his name. I'm so sorry. He helped, he uses time waiver technology, but he said, people get their Healy and it's like a kid in a candy store. I'm going to use this to heal my shoulder, and I'm going to use it to lower my cholesterol, and I'm going to whatever. And that was me. And Emily's like, please just use the gold cycles. And so I did, but I was still, you can go from 15% to 100%. And I was like, oh, I'm going to 90% on this, And what he said is, honestly, the sweet spot is like 25%, which really shocked me. But I want to, I want this miraculous healing today. And that's obviously not the way to go. So anyone who is just getting their Healy or anything like that, slow and steady wins the race. So that was good to hear again from someone else today.
Sherry, can I just add to that? I would tell people that we want to speak to the body. We don't want to scream at it. And when people turn their intensity up, like we don't understand it all yet, because it is so new to the United States. We want to just whisper the information to the body. We don't want to yell at it. We don't want it like, hey, you hear me? That's what the intensity is. So that's why 25 is the normal tone. It's what the body recognizes and doesn't put it in that alert mode, if someone's screaming at it. So yeah, that's how I explain frequencies to people,
Wonderful. Thank
if
you.
that helps. You're welcome. And whoever is on this call that doesn't have a Healy, get in touch with the person that shared this call with you to get one into your home, because it's a game changer. It really, really is. I've never been so excited about anything in the United States, because we've been fighting in the United States for so long to get Eastern modalities into people's hands. You can't go buy acupuncture needles at CVS. I mean, there just hasn't been the access, for any kind of information therapy, vibrational medicine. So I'm just thrilled with this.
Yeah, and thank you so much and thank you so much for your knowledge and wisdom. I love to hear your stories and your background, and it's nice that you've been able to dissect it, because that's how you uncover what's really going on with the body. So thank you so much, Bonnie. I'm so happy to have you be part of our group and have your knowledge and educate all of us and share your wisdom. And we look forward to having you on again if you'd like. And yeah, as Bonnie mentioned, you do want to get back to the person who invited you here. If you want to purchase a Healy, if you are wanting more questions, if you don't know the answers to those, put it in the Facebook comments. We'll be happy to point, guide, and direct you. We have so many resources, and lots of wonderful people beyond this group who are also very helpful too. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. It's so good to see all of your faces and hear your voices. And take really good care, and have a blessed night. And talk to you again soon.
Thank you, guys. Love you.
Yep.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Love you. Bye.